Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
You are listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in the esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is Sunday, July 29th, and we are covering the grand finals of Season 1 of the Overwatch League. Jax Blake, if I say your name enough, will that make us very popular here on the podcast? That's what I want to start with tonight. Jax Blake, put your hands up in the air. Jax Blake, how was that start there for the podcast? But more importantly, how do you enjoy that DJ Khaled?
I, you know, I'm not really. I'm not up to date on popular culture all that much. So I didn't know what to expect. Like I know DJ Khaled is this. I know he's got this brand that he's built up. He's got all these followers. But in the days leading up to once we found out that he was going to be performing, I went by his various social media presence. I went by his Twitter page. I went by his Instagram page, and yes, Lepos. I even pulled up his Snapchat because I'm
Just
saying to myself, if Blizzard is paying him this money, then he's got millions of followers. This is wonderful advertising for the Overwatch League. And then I go to these pages to his Snapchat, and he doesn't mention Overwatch in the grand finals anywhere. And right off the bat, I'm already scratching my head, wondering, well, what are they paying him for? So yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong there. His performance also not hitting well with the crowd. They're pretty quiet. Listen. Other than a couple of posters there on the Reddit trying to defend that it was fun, maybe in the first front row area. Um, the camera shots sort of say a lot because listen, you're going to show a camera shot. You're trying to find the active people. They're not trying to like hide all the people cheering for DJ Khaled. But when it showed the wider shots, there weren't that many people doing that. So
I've seen two prominent ones. One everybody saw was the little boy, and that one is gold.
that
I
is
just I don't
so
know why
good.
you would
I
cut
love
to
it.
that shot if you were a producer, but thank you for doing that for my entertainment. Another one was a guy. He was in a Boston shirt, I think. So he obviously he's upset his team isn't there, but he was sitting and he was yawning, Lepolos. And then I saw a picture that said DJ Khaled is a Mercy main, which you immediately make the tie-in to Mercy being resident sleeper. Like when you watch a Mercy main play, it's quite boring, and when you play Mercy yourself at times, it is very boring. So the resident sleeper that pops up in Twitch chat all the time, that's what I'm like. You know what? That's what this is, because his presentation, his performance, sorry, not presentation, his performance was dreadful, and I kept asking you leading into it. I was like, is he,
See the
does he
audience
perform?
of Overwatch.
Yeah,
like
like I don't. I mean, Blizzard
I
and Activision Lepelos, they have people, they pay these people, a pretty decent salary, I'm assuming. Someone in marketing said, okay, you know what, let's go out and get, DJ Khaled. And I just want to ask, like, are you aware of your demographic that you're trying to draw in here? And then you have to stop and you say, well, they've already got us, right? They've got you and me and people who play the game. They want people who perhaps don't play the game. And so DJ Khaled maybe does reach out to them, Lepelos.
listen.
So
I'm gonna just say this, which is, despite earlier sponsorship, this was a sweet moment turned sour, Jax. I'm of course referencing this is probably a decision that was made by their sponsors, largely trying to find a marketing angle here and try and increase our audience
well
because that's
done.
what they're trying to do in general. And I think that ties in perfectly with the other thing you have here in our uh, pre-podcast portion or intro, which is a talk about some of the viewership stats here
Yeah.
in the three major esports. Well, I say three. It's this one's lacking what was happening at the same time, which was Fortnite.
Mhm.
But here you have the PUBG Global Invitational 2018, E-League CS:GO Premier, and the Overwatch League season playoffs. And the PUBG is incredible numbers.
I
Let's
mean,
just start with that one.
yeah. Well, okay. The overall peak, you kind of have to subtract one of the main numbers, right? Because that is an incredible outlier. And what we're talking about is China. And the fact, the fact that they have it here where they have numbers where China is subtracted tells you that China can skew things quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's for us. If you're Blizzard or if you're PUBG, I don't know who runs these, or if you're E-League and you look at these numbers, you actually want all of the numbers. If you're PUBG and you're looking at this Chinese number here and you're saying, okay, this is really good because you don't want to subtract, you want to add in more and more. And the fact that Leplos, they have 30 million more viewers in China than Overwatch. Oh no, 30 million more than CS:GO.
It's
I was stunned when
incredible.
I saw that, dude. Like,
Yeah,
what a
no,
number.
the I mean, again, we can't like if that's true viewership from the Chinese scene, that's massive. But
Right.
okay, so let's take that out. Without Chinese viewership on PUBG was still 800K, pretty much. The CS:GO was 220K, and Overwatch League playoffs were like 350K.
Yeah.
That's still far and ahead of the two others for PUBG here. Overwatch League, the best I can say about Overwatch League from looking at this right now, there's a couple of good things. The Twitch TV viewers are, a relatively high portion of the non-Chinese viewership, so
Yeah.
that's good. Same with the English stream peak. It's relatively good, right? So of their audience is more Western than Chinese. So that
Let me ask you something then, though.
is that better?
If you were, I take it feels like we keep going back to this, and there's a reason this keeps coming up here. If you're Twitch, right, and I take you back to the Mark Cuban, Noah Winston slasher debate on Twitter about time and how much time that people have, you know, spare time that they can put forward to something like watching an esport. And so with that in mind, as you say, Twitch for season 1 and 2, they paid what Activision Blizzard $90 million for the rights to broadcast on Twitch. If you're Twitch now and say for season 3, if these numbers continue on like they are right now, are you gonna take that 90 million and put it in Overwatch League, or are you gonna put that 90 million in PUBG levels? I mean, just look at the numbers here, man. Like
I mean,
what?
it's definitely a good question. There obviously is a bit of a difference in the sense of sponsorship. Like, how do you really get advertising money? Like, you can put it on your regular stuff, but like, do you put it on individual players in the PUBG Global Invitational? Do you take
Good
your
question.
chances on somebody that might go out right away and it isn't guaranteed to have screen time
I mean,
every single week?
I actually didn't. I watched clips of it, specifically the clip where Eska, former Lunatic High captain, Overwatch player, won the third person part of the tournament. Good 400K for his team. I saw a clip of that. I saw like maybe 5 minutes of that, but no, PUBG was aired. It was on EU time when I was asleep, so I didn't see it. And I mean, you look at this. You say PUBG, E League, and Overwatch League levels, and you're forgetting that these aren't the biggest. This is not the best. The biggest and the brightest and the thing with the best future is Fortnite.
Yeah,
This weekend on Friday and Saturday, we had direct competition between Fortnite and the Overwatch League. Fortnite started both days started a couple of hours before Overwatch League on Twitch. That is, and the first day, it was more of the same. Where Fortnite 700K, Overwatch League, not normally it's almost a 7 times different. This time it was like half. Overwatch League they picked up a little bit, but not enough. And then on Saturday, towards the end there, Overwatch League actually, or sorry, Overwatch, not Overwatch League, but total viewers. So it's not just people watching Overwatch League, it's individual streamers. So everyone who was watching Overwatch on Twitch surpassed Fortnite for a brief moment. But that was at a completely different time. That was earlier in the day. None of the big Fortnite streamers were around, yada yada yada. And so
yeah.
I just look at this and I'm just wondering, while these numbers are good, right? The owners will tell you that these numbers are better than what they projected, what they thought they would get for season 1. It's just Mark Cuban, who is, a pretty smart businessman, and what he says, and you just can't help but wonder, like, okay, you got season 2, right? You've got the money already in place, but after that, season 3, it just makes you wonder a little bit, is all.
I think that's a very good thing. I mean, we've had our own in Blizzard We Trust series with them, and I think this is a really good point to review after the end of the season. I'm not going to go on too much. I'm just gonna say the big thing for me with the Overwatch League is they clearly are sort of a top down organization. You got to climb that peak to become a pro after all, Jax.
I
But
mean, okay, the other thing which we don't have numbers for, and which one of our viewers here in your Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Lepalose, every Sunday night when we do our podcast around 9 PST, he says that he saw Overwatch being aired on his TV today, and he was completely surprised. A friend of mine, on Friday, he sent me a text. It was like, I'm out at a bar and the Overwatch League finals are on TV here, and you kept seeing that everywhere. Right? People were at restaurants, they're out. It was being broadcast on ESPN, and previously it was on ESPN, like ESPN3, or it was on Disney, or it was on some second or third rate channel. But this was on the main ESPN, the flagship channel, Uploads, that is front and center, um, and they were getting play. Like it was being aired
stream
Friday
time.
night at prime time. 5 Pacific or 8 o'clock Eastern, or 7 in Central Time Zone. So they're trying here, and it makes you wonder, like, did Blizzard pay ESPN for that slot
Oh,
uploads,
I
or
mean,
did
I think the answer
ESPN
is
pay
yes.
Blizzard for the
Oh,
rights to air it? What do you think? Because we're never gonna know, right? Nate is never
I
gonna
think
let us know.
Blizzard. I think Blizzard is like leveraging their sponsorship here to try and get endemic organizations like and media specifically here in TV to be interested in how they were doing, and that is costing them money. That they're absolutely spending some of their money right now
I
to
mean, look, it was
try
$20
and
million
get
buy-in
markets.
for these 12 teams here, right?
Yeah,
So they've got money
they're
here.
absolutely spending money on this kind of stuff, and I think there is obviously some concerns about it because the numbers online don't compare to some of these others. What they're trying to do though is create a broader base of people that might be interested in watching the game. We'll see if that works out. I have my own concerns when it comes to these battle royale games and the viewership interest. I actually don't think they will be able to sustain interest from a viewership angle for a long time. I could be wrong on that one. CS:GO, it's a long-lasting game. It has a lot of
They've been on
interesting
regular TV
people.
before as well, yeah.
They've been on regular TV. It is a good game. It may not have the draw, particularly with parents of younger children, that Overwatch does, simply because Overwatch is definitely a little more friendly to kids, and to be honest, it's also a little bit more flashy too, right? It's a light show every time you watch the game.
Yeah.
Okay, Jax, I think that's a good point to stop there. I did want to mention before we get into the actual discussion of the finals, you had here something of importance that we've talked about, which is mental health issues and effect, particularly regarding this. And I was happy when you linked that in channel that we got to see that effect is back in the USA finally. We had sort of harped on this point with the Dallas organization about sort of leaving him out to dry in Korea without proper support, and thankfully it looks like with their new coach, Arrow, had him staying with him for a little bit there. He's been streaming in the US, which I'm not going to comment on the stream. It sounds like people are enjoying it and stuff like that, but honestly that's like secondary to making sure that they are there and able to support one of their members. So it looks like they are investing in this guy.
I mean,
for the long term.
you and I both said last week, when more of it came out, we said, okay, Dallas, since it's the off season, you're not playing anymore. Send someone to Korea, help this guy out. Dallas says, okay, instead of us doing that, we're gonna bring him here where there's more of us. Where there, from what I don't know for sure, but from what I'm reading and what people are saying, mental health is not really treated very well in Korea, right? It's just not there. The support network isn't there. Where here in the States, there's growing effort behind mental health awareness, and not being ashamed of it, and just to find help where you have, so wherever you can. So when I saw the clip that someone made of Arrow talking about, yep, we brought Effect back, he's here, I am working with him, giving him that personal time that he needs, that's what I wanted to hear out of Dallas, right? This is, and when it also takes me when Arrow previously talked about what he would do if he had benched a player, and how he would keep that player involved in the team. And I'm liking a lot of the things that I'm hearing out of Arrow. Not, his streams where he's doing VOD review, where he's talking about coaching is more than just tactics, right? You're a manager. You have these people here who look to you for guidance, and it just makes me wonder, Did they not have that with Coach Kai Lepos? And I seriously doubt that they did. Speaking of Coach Kai, there was a brief clip on competitive Overwatch Reddit where effect is he goes up there, he sees Kai's name, he removes him as his friend right there on Twitch, and it's like, oh my goodness. So I'm
I'm
liking that Arrow is bringing more of that personal aspect in off the field or off the out of the game things to helping the team because you look at the situations that are going on here where you have Fisher and Asher who don't come to the stadium when your team is playing a playoff game, right? They're back at the crib chilling, watching.
yeah.
And Arrow is saying, "No, I would have them there. I would have them involved. You want them there. You want them to feel included, And then so now I have him where you're talking about, yes, I am trying to help Effect as best as I can. We're trying to get him the help. So props to Dallas, props to Coach Arrow. The organization, bit of a failure for season 1, but it looks to me like they're actively trying to fix that for season 2. Really big props to them for that.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see that happen too. Let's move on into the finals though, Jax.
Can I just say right quick?
Oh yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
about 5 minutes before or 10 minutes before I was eating, and I had Shadowburn stream on, and he was playing regular Publé, and Zarya throws out. He's playing Hanzo. Zarya throws out the grab. He throws out the dragon. He's like, boost me, Mercy, boost me, and then Mercy is like, doesn't work anymore, and then Shadowburn is like, oh yeah, I forgot, and you know why he forgot, Leplos? Because he doesn't play this game. He now that the Overwatch League is over, he's playing the game that the rest of us play. When previously, you know what he was doing? He was playing on a different patch where Mercy was able to damage boost the Hanzo.
Yeah,
So there you go.
that's true. I mean, it could have also been that he was busy dancing for that solo dance that he had too. Pretty classic though. You guys should check that out. I don't have a link to that one, but that was pretty epic. From like 2 weeks ago. But here we are. We're in grand finals. London Spitfire taking on the Fusion. Both of the teams were the two lowest seeded teams going into the playoffs. We talked about this. I decided that to break with the trend. I picked London Spitfire. You picked Fusion going into this one, and we started Series 1 with Dorado, Jax.
I gotta say, Lep, I was worried. I sent you a tweet before the series started, and I asked you a question. I'm trying to pull up, so I have it here at. Why is it not here? Okay. At Lepalose, a little worried about my fusion pick. Chef Coach Heidi hasn't been cooking. Red alert for me right away, man. Red alert. She's the secret weapon that has helped them, right? She fuels them. She gets them, she makes sure they have the right energy in them to get them going. You know,
Yeah,
she's there
no,
in New York, right? The whole organization went there, but she doesn't have her kitchen. So they're eating out there. They're eating all this food. It's just not Chef Heidi prepared. These other chefs don't know what these players need to get them ready for a grand final. So before this match even started, I was worried.
yeah.
This had me worried.
On the flip side, I had faith that Susie Kim was doing her best there for her team to make sure that they're all set. I mean, you
She
saw
had
what
the
she
lucky
did
dress
whenever
on
she came
too.
in.
She had that
She
lucky dress on. I think she says they're like
yep.
16-1-1 when she wears some weird number like that when she wears that dress. I'm like, holy crap, that's not fair.
That's great. I mean, you're playing sports. Superstition is part of sports, so I'm glad they had everything going their way. Chef Heidi trying to do her best, at least for her fans, is my understanding. She did do something with the fans in New York, I believe.
Yeah, they
At the
had a
same time.
brunch get together and she
Yeah,
showed up as a surprise. Like, hey, I mean, I will say, Philly, best at the branding, Leplos. Best at the
absolutely.
branding. Fantastic.
And here they are. They're on Dorado here. They're attacking first, and they do a pretty good job. They end up capping out three full points, and are ensure themselves at least a second attack on Dorado. That came off largely off of a fairly good A point time, slow, and a quick B. But that third point, Jax, Philly was looking a little questionable in. You know how hard it is, so that third phase
Yeah.
to push it in. Let's flip to the London attack because they had a quicker A and B time, and your worries sort of looked like they were valid at this point in time. They're entering the third phase. I can't remember if it was
They had over 5 minutes
yeah.
to push it in, man. Yeah.
It was concerning, but they pulled it out, Jax. They managed to hold on from there. and managed to take the map 3-2 in an amazing defense in that third phase by Philadelphia Fusion to take the first map. On
Still, I mean, good for Philly for clutching it out. Like on their attack, they stalled for such a long time, and it's amazing how these teams can be fighting here. Doing the same thing for 3 to 4 minutes, and then everything lines up perfectly, and they make it through. They push it through in overtime, and then London comes through with, as you said, a blistering point A and point B attack. This I have doubts about this single support first point defense that teams like the run, especially the fusion. A single point affair like that, man, it's just worrying. And London exploited that, and they pushed through a second and get to the third. And just taking a quick look at the numbers that we have here, and
It's pretty comparable overall. There are minor differences, but they're pretty. It was a close match ultimately, right? It came down to one fight essentially, right? The fight that London could. Well, I mean, they struggled in that third phase just as like Fusion did, but one fight was the difference here in order to make it through to that final point that they did not win. And that was enough here for the Fusion to hold out and claim victory on the very first map of the first series here.
yeah, yep, solid play out of the tanks here. I'm looking at Sato, who led. Well, no, he led Philly with a +8 elims to death ratio, but Fury for London 13-4 for the +9, and everybody else, it's a little. So when you actually stop and you look at the numbers, like last week when we focused on the numbers, and here we're focusing on the numbers. Birdering -1, Profit only at a +2, but then on the flip side, you go to the Fusion. What do they have? EQO 0, 12-12, or Carpe -1 for Carpe on a map that they won, on a map Dorado where Widow is such a strong pick here, right? Widow has phenomenal sidelines to work with here, and yet Carpe unable to even pull out a positive elims to death. That's a little surprising, especially that they got the win. It was hard fought, and we're on to the second map.
Yeah, second map. You're talking about tanks there. We need to talk about tanks in this one as well. I'm gonna jump right ahead and just say this was a London strong victory over Philadelphia, including some Philadelphia perhaps nerves giving up a point, I believe, right off the start on University, if I remember correctly on
Is
that
it
one.
nerves or just passive play? Like,
It's a bit of column A, bit of column B, because I don't think you would even in passive play want to give up the point that early unless you felt like you were getting some kind of positional advantage, which I don't think they felt they were. I just thought they probably backed up and didn't readjust appropriately. But you're talking about tank play. Let's look at the numbers here. Top killer or top eliminations out of everyone on the server for this map. Fury, 10 kills. He's well and
second
above.
map in a row, Lepalose.
Yeah, he was 3 above Gesture, who was number 2. So tanks, huge play coming out of London Spitfire's tanks, of Fury and Gesture. And by and large, if you look by the numbers, that, in my opinion, is the difference. Obviously, that takes a lot of support in order to keep your tanks up and healthy. So Bedosin and Nuss doing, in my opinion, a better job of that too. And you don't really get healing stats, so we don't entirely know
Oh, I
what's happening
thankfully,
there.
I can go to this. There's another link on our schedule that does have healing stats. It says damage stats, but it also has healing stats
Oh,
on it.
perfect. Okay.
Not that it really matters because the fights are over so quickly that there's not much for you to heal here. You want to take Boombox did 4639, Bedosin did 4105, Neptuno did 9577, Nuss did 9100, right? So the healing is almost identical. It's just the fusion, they weren't getting the initiations. They weren't the tanks for the fusion. Sato and Hotba weren't getting in, as well as Gesture and Fury. And Fury, once again, the silent assassin. He has no flash, right? Fury
Yeah,
is never the one getting the recognition. But in these
he doesn't
first two
have.
maps, they lost the first one, and the second one here, it's more of the same. I mean, just solid numbers here. But when I say solid numbers for them, on the flip side, EQO -3,
Yeah,
Elims to death. Carpe for the second map in a row, -1, 4 and 5. We talked about one of the, when we broke it down position by position, and we said, what is Philly's biggest strength here? It was Carpe. It was his widow and the consistent widow that we have been seeing from him. And here we are in the first two maps. They won one, they lost the second. Going forward, Carpe has got to do something. He's got to produce, otherwise they're in trouble.
Let's go to Eichenwald then on that note, Jax, and talk about what happened on this map. Philadelphia Fusion, I mean, they got through A in a pretty decent time. You know, it was about 2 minutes. I think it was 2 minutes exactly, looking at the stats here. And then the London defense comes out just past the gate. I mean, you might have thought it was at the gate, you know, but no, it was just beyond the gate, and Fusion just could not push that cart like anywhere. I think it got 77.66 meters, so it's like up the ramp a little bit, I believe, just a little bit around the corner.
I don't even think, was it under the bridge? Did it go all the way under the bridge?
No, I don't think it went. I think
it
was at the start of the ramp, if my memory serves right. But
I mean, part of the problem, Lepalose, would be EQO on this Farah. I mean, he spent so much time. He held Barrage for so long. Not that I rate Barrage very highly, but I was saying to myself, well, maybe he just wants to Barrage and then switch. But he would come out with Farah, throw a few rockets, die, team would reset. And it's like, where is the Hanzo? You go back to the quarterfinals against Boston, where EQO was having sub 30-second dragons, Lepelos. He was putting out so much damage. And then now, here in the finals, he wants to play fair all day. For what? To do what?
yeah, it was pretty quiet. I mean, his stats on his line were pretty comparable to Bird Ring overall. So then let's take a look at Carpe. Carpe was actually worse by the numbers, Jax. Carpe here on this map was sitting at a -5. EQO was -2. 9-11 for EQO on kills to death. Carpe only 5 and 10. So as much as I agree with you, EQO looked like he was doing nothing, but then I have to come to Carpe and wonder why did he go silent? And I think maybe some of that is the lack of threat coming out of there. Another thing I want to talk about, you mentioned flashy plays, or rather lack of flashy plays coming out of Fury. Fury, again, +8 here on this map, 11 kills. That was second best, only behind Prophet. Prophet putting up good numbers, 12 kills, 3 deaths on this one. That's a really great scoreline. He was left unchecked by Carpe. Honestly, I believe that was a major difference here. Poco, though, I know a long-winded way to get here. Poco, flashy plays, 8 kills, 3 deaths. I'm pretty sure half of his kills came off of self-destructs on this map.
When he had that one where he gets 2, I'm saying to myself, he got the Mercy. Like, that's fight over when you start with the Diva Bomb that picked the enemy Mercy. And they don't do anything with it. But part of the reason why they didn't do anything with it was Gesture and his phenomenal Winston play, man. I mean, Winston's only get credit when they do something flashy, right? Or if you get a primal rage where you do a lot of leaping and you time your cooldowns perfectly around, environmental kills, or if you juggle someone in a corner, or if you drop your Winston bubble to kill an enemy fair as they use their ultimate, like I believe happened to EQO here. The tank play out of, I mean, it's a tank play out of London, even when their main support was dead, right? That's at a time where you have to be cautious, where you have to pick your spots because you won't be getting those heals. The best you've got is maybe an orb coming in, from a Zen. And this was a phenomenal defense by London, Lepelos. Most of the time, when you push through on second, right, you might get held at the door a little bit, but ultimately the spawns favor you. It's so far for the defense to run back. And then once you get going on second, if you end up being held, it's right at the door because now the defense is closer. For them to hold here before or right directly underneath the bridge for what was that, 4 minutes here? Unreal. Absolutely unreal defense.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it coming out of Spitfire, and their defense is looking pretty strong. And I go back to the Oasis then, and if their defenses are looking strong, Philadelphia, you shouldn't be giving up points like that. That's going to put you in troubling location. And here they are. They're down 2 maps to 1, entering game 4, and it's Volskaya Industries. Now,
Volskaya's another good map for Philadelphia, though.
I mean, yeah, they have chances, but again, we're talking map score lines from way back when. Actually, I'd have to double check with that one. I know they've won in the playoffs against both. I think both the NYXL and definitely Boston Uprise, on Volskaya. So they have a chance here to bring it back, and finally we do get some production out of EQO on this map. Unfortunately, it was not enough. They struggled a bit on A point. They couldn't really do much on their B point attack here. That left a 57% amount that they had to overcome on the side of London Spitfire.
But what a I mean, what a A-point defense they had, Lepalose.
Oh, so
Like
good.
when you're held, but without capturing the full progress on B point, your best chance then is a full hold on first. And I thought they had it. They was what 20 seconds left when the diva bombs start flying, man, and you're saying Neptuno, no. And then you start to worry if you're a Fusion fan because as I said, your best bet is to hold on first. And then we get some of the best cast. I know you're not a hype man. Uber brought the hype with his casting for this map. I was absolutely feeling it. And out of all the other casters, main casters like Doa or Semler, they couldn't do it. They don't have the tone, they don't have the pacing, man. But
Yeah, the
when
pacing's not.
London pushes in, right? And on that very first time with Prophet, it's a back and forth fight. And then it comes down to it, and you're like, wait a minute, what just happened here? And then he's like, Prophet kills one, Prophet kills two. And you're saying, did he just carry this? Because the ticker is going, it's going, it's going. And it was what less than a full percent. It was like what 0.7 away from being a snowball when Poco makes it back out or Hot Bazaar. No, it was Poco. Yeah, Poco makes it back out to stop it, and then you're saying, okay, they've got time. Just slow and steady, right? Slow and steady, and they hold Lepelos, and then they hold again, and you're saying, okay, Philly Fusion, you guys, you didn't get your Fightie's food, but here you are. You won the first map. Are you gonna win this fourth map here? And you get to the final fight, and Profit pops off. Like,
Yeah.
how do you stop something like that, Lepelos?
It's I mean there's a good question. Sometimes players just step up in the moment. That's difficult to handle. Like you
You
can't
killed
you
4.5 players, Lepelos.
I mean that's Prophet's ability to do that. You're like there's not necessarily one thing you can do to mitigate that other than to be aware that he is doing well and to immediately switch your focus in the next fight to try and shut him down. In that fight, like what can you do? You have to look at individual mechanics. You can't think about that in the fight though. That's like practice and uh just
Yeah,
bearing down on that. And you just can't you really can't like practice for somebody having that moment where someone on the other team is popping off, and how do you handle that? You just
I
gotta
mean the defense had been doing well.
yeah.
Something that one of the reasons why I wish we had individual players' perspectives is I really want like at times I feel as if Neptuno buys his own press a little too much. He buys into the hype too much, and he puts himself into positions that are needlessly risky. There were two fights here. Actually, the first point, was lost when Neptuno died. That one kind of out of his control, but in his final fight, it was also out of his control because you're not going to stop Prophet, who we saw him go up on the left side and he goes in, he one clips Neptuno, right? One clips, recalls out of that Lepelos, one clips Carpe right after that and then lands the pulse bomb and then gets in on Sato who's playing Orisa. Just single
I mean, the other
wow,
comparable Tracer moment
stunned.
we have, and Jax, we're talking about Tracer again. So is this a surprise?
I
Not
mean,
no, but
see, this is why she's broken, right? Because even though anybody else after they get the kill on Neptuno, when they can't just recall and be like, oh hey, I'm back in pristine condition. I'm ready to go. Now it's true. This is on Carpe, who he just got outplayed, right? He's playing
yeah,
Tracer himself, and Prophet is like, bruh, you're done. One clip. Um, and Poco, his Diva Bomb only got one bird ring on the McCree. Not that he was ever really needed there. But you look at the numbers here, Leplos, and let's talk about what's needed. EQO, as you said, finally stepped up.
did
+5
well.
here
Yeah,
on the elims to death. Okay.
in a losing
Yeah.
set too.
But
So
then you go down the list. Sato, -4. Hotbutt, -4. Neptuno, -7. Poco, -3. And I take you back again to Carpe with a -4, Lepelos. This is the guy who we said was their greatest advantage was in the Widow fight, right? In him being the better Widow. And as we go down the maps, I'll just hold on. Let me just double check this here. He had a negative elims to death ratio on every map.
yeah, he
Every
got
one of them.
And I think, listen, we recognize that he was a big reason why Fusion. I'm sure every team that played Fusion knew that he was going to be the premier character that they had to try and shut down. I think only the Spitfire had a significant plan in order to handle that. Part of that being Birdring doing well and at least staying pretty even. I think he had the advantage when it came down to Widowmaker duels overall, but I think it was also the tank here, play here that was a big advantage that London had going in. Like you look at
yeah.
You look at the pathway that Fusion had to take, and you look at the tank lines that he had to face up until now. And that's not. I don't mean to knock them too much, but honestly, like I don't think Gamsu did enough with the uprising to really help shut down.
Yeah, Carpe.
And then you look at
Mano
or Janus with Meko.
I mean that is something that I do plan on asking you about after we get through with this full rundown. The other set of numbers here, if you take a look at the DPS head-to-head numbers that we have there, final blows and deaths. So you take Birdring, right? 40 final blows, 34 deaths. Okay, okay. EQO, 41 final blows, 37 deaths. Again, okay. Carpe Lepalose, 29 final blows, 40 deaths.
You could tell he's being focused. If he's dying that much, you could tell that their focus was not only happening, but it was effective at the same time. And then
the last one, Prophet, 47 final blows, 16 deaths. Yeah, 16 Lepalose. The next closest was Birdring at 34 when it comes to deaths.
I mean, he played Tracer again, Jax.
He didn't play that much Tracer though, dude.
No, okay.
He didn't play that much Tracer.
You're
everything.
Right. He did play everything. It was great play coming out of Prophet. No, I am gonna give him that. I still want to give out huge props to, particularly in the first 3 maps. Really, I think it was the London Spitfire's tank line that was a huge difference, because again, I go to shutting down Carpe and getting kills, particularly with Fury finishing kills too. And I look at that as a huge reason why that Spitfire did well in the first three teams.
His worst map, was the last one of Volskaya, where he had only a +1. Everything else was, the first one was +9, and then +8, +8, and then +1 here. Interesting though, Lepalose, that his worst map is EQO's best map. EQO, who played a lot of Hanzo. What does Hanzo do? Pops a Storm Arrow, and Diva's in a lot of trouble. Or when EQO went Zarya, maximum charge, Zarya just feeds on Diva. So I'm not surprised that Fury's worst map was EQO's best map, just because, EQO was playing things that countered him pretty heavily. The fact that Carpe's numbers are so bad, and we weren't seeing in the kill feed, we weren't seeing a lot of Birdring just crapping all over him. We were just seeing Carpe under tremendous pressure, and that goes to the tanks, right? That goes to Gesture and Fury, who shut him down in this first series. And I take you back. This isn't the first time, right? Throughout, we're saying, Birdring has been stepping it up in the playoffs, and he has. But I think we haven't been giving enough props to his tanks, Lepalose, because you take a look at his counterparts. You can maybe make the argument that, what is it, Nerves that are getting to Surefour soon, and now Carpe, maybe one of them, but all three of those counter Widows who had, like, in stage 4, Carpe and Soon, Carpe, Soon, and Surefour, stage 4, they had phenomenal Widows, right? So what has happened here? Why are their Widows suddenly so ineffective? I look at the tanks here, man. Prophet might get the MVP here, but man, the tanks are fantastic play.
I mean, go back to Series 2 in the LA Gladiator and the adjustments that the coaching staff made there to handle Surefour from that point on, I think has carried them through. We're done day 1 though. Puts us onto the Saturday for series number 2 between these two teams. And if you're a Fusion fan, you're not going to feel too good after that first day. I mean, you got the first map, right? And you showed that you could defend against London Spitfire pretty strong yourself, but then, like, things just started to collapse from you there. So, You gotta turn the corner. What are you gonna do, Jax? What are you gonna do to try and
One
turn
of the changes they
that
made
corner?
here is Hotba. Although Hotba kind of lost his starting diva spot towards the end of the first series yesterday, but here he's not even in the starting lineup. Now it's Poco getting the start on diva. I mean, Poco has been hitting his bombs, right? Like he's getting the kills when he's got the ultimate. It's just is he doing as much as Fury Lepalose, right? Fury not getting the flashy diva bombs, but Fury getting everything else. So who knows?
Yeah, definitely. So let's go ahead and talk about the second series. Starts out on Junkertown this time, and one of the things that would potentially be another twist that Fusion could throw, you would expect it to come in here on Junkertown. That would be Shadowburn. Unfortunately, not coming in here, Jax.
They have,
Maybe not
they have
unfortunately.
run
We don't know
Shadowburn.
what's.
I mean,
Yeah, we
that
don't
was
know what's
back in the
internal.
Junkrat era, though, right? Like
Yeah.
they
It's a new world though. We're in a new world. We have no idea how much he's practiced with him or anything like that, right? Like,
But see, I take what you just said, right? And it's something that as a coach or even as a viewer, because I think I kept asking you in Discord repeatedly.
yeah.
Later on, it's just like, okay, yesterday was not the best day for Philadelphia. You and I know, or perhaps we're wrong. I doubt it. We're
We're
never
never
wrong.
wrong.
But
Yeah.
the fully Korean teams levels, they're about the preparation. Even when I go back to the series against the Gladiators, they were thrown by iRemix coming in because no one can expect iRemix to replace Fisher, right? And then after that, they're like, okay, we've got this now. But here, it's like, throw them a little something. Throw them a little something different. I don't know. Shadowburn for EQO, maybe not that much different, but look at the numbers here, Lepolos. And the concerns from the first day, they've now rolled over into the second day.
Not only that, though, I think you look at the tank line here of the Fusion, and there was a bit of a drop off. I'm just going to look at the Risso play out of Sato here and just mention 4 kills, 12 deaths coming out of your main tank player. I don't care about the rest of the stats right now. If you have a main tank player that just had a -8, I can tell you're not going to win a map as your main tank player.
Here's the thing, right? So even if you say, okay, Sato had a bad map at 12 deaths, you look at the next following deaths. What Boombox at 11 deaths, and then you go to Neptuno at 10 deaths. That's your main tank and both supports who are in double-digit deaths. Lepelos. You can't. What do? You cannot win that, man. And so when you go through the map, I'm not surprised that they were held, before, but they pushed into the final third and then they shut down. I was like, where is the adjustment? Where is something different? Please stop staggering yourself. Please stop doing all these things that you should have learned in stage one. And here we are in the playoffs with your life on the line. And then I look over in the other side, right? Fury, once again, +8. I'm at this point, I'm not surprised. Profit, +12. I'm not surprised. Bedosin, +9. Little bit surprised. But on Junkertown, he's not really playing Zen. He's playing the hog. He's playing that flex. And as the casters and analysts talked about, that's a weakness for Philly in that Boombox doesn't flex as well as Bedosin does, and it showed here. Or if you want to talk about synergy and combos, right? How many times did we see a dragon come out and then gesture with a huge, hey, buddy, where are you going? I'm going to halt and pull you back in so that
Yeah.
you eat all of this dragon damage. Or I mean, just not the suck and pull was better between Gesture and Bedosin than Sato and Boombox. It was just better. Like I was so worried, like to the point where if you're Philly, after the third time, you get paranoid about it, man. It starts to affect you. Like they have just been halting and pulling us all day, and we can't do anything. Ours isn't working. First map, Lepolos, London Spitfire.
Yeah, and from there we move on to Lijiang Tower, and this was not good coming out of Philadelphia Fusion. According to some stats, I'm looking at Winston's lab here. They rate this as a fight count of 6-0 for London Fusion, or for London Spitfire over the Fusion. The stats sort of show this too. I mean, when you have only 6 fights, you have a limited number of deaths, almost all of those deaths being on the side of the Fusion. It was not good. It was not good coming out of the Fusion here
I mean,
whatsoever.
it's see, here's the deal. King of the Hill, Lepelos, as we've talked about through our previous 97 episodes, is about the team fight, right? It's about the brawling. It's about can you listen? Can you just kill? Like there's no tactics here. Okay, maybe slight tactics, but there's no secret plan. It's about you've got your six, they've got their six. You're gonna meet in the middle and you're going to throw down. Just look at the numbers. You said you're on Winston's lab page here, Lepelos.
Yeah.
How many green numbers do you see for the Philadelphia Fusion?
Listen, without going like in terms of the KD or plus minus, yeah, no, there is zero out of them on that side.
They couldn't kill anything.
I can't even give you a silver lining here.
No.
That's how troubling this was. I mean, the silver lining for me in this is that Boombox had more kills on this map than he did as Roadhog or any hero on Junkertown, and again, that goes back to their Junkertown looking awful.
One of the most surprising things to me, nobody played Hanzo on this map. We had EQO once again on the Pharah.
Yeah.
Prophet paid the Pharah. They both paid Pharah Genji. And I think if I go back and look at Discord and I have EQO question mark Tracer into Prophet, like you're behind here and you want EQO to take his Tracer up against Prophet. When that is your plan, it's a bad plan, Lepelos. There are just certain matchups that don't work. I know you'll say, well, Jax, go back to the previous series. Hotba beat Sebobi.
Yeah.
Okay. On one day, on one map, Hotba popped off. So perhaps you're telling me Lightning is going to strike them twice here, and EQO is going to magically be better than Prophet, who has been solid this entire championship. This entire playoff, Prophet has been on point, and you're telling me your plan is to put EQO on Tracer to beat him. Are you serious? This is your plan. It's a bad plan, Liplos. It is a bad plan. They have three coaches. I watched the post-game press conference. I saw the three coaches and analysts that they have over there. Sadly, Chef Heidi wasn't there. I already talked about the lack of food. That's a problem. This plan, serious problem, Lepelos, because now it is match point. You have lost 5 maps in a row to this team.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a concern. You're gonna have to go for like both a series reverse sweep and then the entire you got to come back and win later that day if you want to try and win this all, if you're a Fusion player.
Let me ask you something, Lepelos. You're one of the three coaches that I just mentioned that exists for the Philadelphia Fusion. You have lost 5 maps in a row, and a number of them have not been close. It is match point. Do you make any adjustments to your roster, or do you just stick with what you have?
Honestly, at this point, you might want to try putting Fraggy in. Would be my number one. I know we talked about Shadowburn. I don't know how he's standing. That might be a potential. Although, again, who are you going to take out? Carpe or EQO? Like, who do you feel is going to be better replaced? Like, yeah, that might be a possibility too. And when you're desperate, you do make desperate moves like that. You wouldn't be wrong to do that. Obviously, they wanted to show faith in terms of who they thought were their premier lineup at this point in time, and they stuck with their lineup. Maybe even put Joe Meister in, Jax. Maybe even put
I was waiting for the Joe Meister. That's surprisingly no Dayfly out of Lepelos. So who saw Dayfly the previous day?
No, you don't put in Dayfly.
Was doing
we know
his
that.
best Dayfly impression with as much as he was dying on Volskaya. For me, I promise you already know my answer, because if you go back and look at Discord in our live match chat channel, you're saying you see me post after post make a change. Hello, Fraggy, please. The Sato here, who we haven't really said much Lepelos, right?
Yeah,
he's been non-existent. Like
this second series, absolutely awful, right? As I said, Junkertown not great. Lijiang Tower clearly bad too, because of their team played poorly. Yeah. So you do have to make change and just trust in your mechanical skills. Like, hey guys, we're losing badly here. Like, throw plans out of the window, and now's improvisation time. We trust in your skills. And your coordination, and
I mean,
go.
People say it might, it seems desperate, but desperate times call for desperate measures, and you see it in other sports, right? Where a team is struggling, so the coach, He's standing there. He looks down at the bench. He's like, "What can I do here? You know what? You there?" He just picks somebody. Like, "Hey, come on in here." Just to throw it, just change it up, right? Like, this is what I don't understand. Take the Gladiators, who lost 5 maps in a row to, sorry, 6 maps in a row to London, and they made no real adjustments that mattered. I mean, sure, they did Silk Thread and hydration, but that's 2 series ago. But here, you've lost 5 in a row. Like this last one, like it's Li Jiang, where it's the second map. You got absolutely roasted. You have the halftime break. You've got your team there. You literally, show me something, coach. Show me something, coach. But then Leplos, we go into Kings Row. They keep the same players. So they have faith. They said, no, we're going to go for the double down. Run it down for me, Lep. What happened here on Kings Row? Do I even
Philadelphia
need to look at the
attack.
numbers?
Philadelphia attack pretty decent through a slow B point attack, and then they do manage an overtime take, just squeaking through in order to get that C point there. London attack almost get held on that A point. Like they got held up, right? That's where you want. The defense starting to look like, shaping up maybe a little bit for the Fusion. Unfortunately, did not hold in second and then falls apart in third, leaving over a minute of time. I believe it was a minute 10, if I'm not mistaken, for London Spitfire to just get a third for their second attack, which they managed to do in quick time. Jax, can I also mention there that final attack, they decide, hey, you know what? We got burned by this earlier in the playoffs. We're going to bring the Gladiators switch to Widow from a GOAT comp strat out on Kings Row in order to win the entire grand finals and the first Overwatch League champion status
I
off
will
of a play they got
say,
destroyed on. It was
when it
great. I mean,
happened live, I didn't catch it. Like, because everything else that was, you just feel in the hype that I didn't catch it. It wasn't until a second watch, and someone pointed it out. I was like, and here I was like, because when the Gladiators did it, the cameras were on Surefour, and then Surefour came and he got the 2 kills. And here, Birdring wasn't even needed. Lepolos, like he was
no.
still in spawn. Like, wait, guys, where y'all going? I'm not
You know
ready
who it
yet.
was? You know who it was? It was Gesture. I believe catching Sato unfortunately did not catch the right time to move off the high ground there, and here we are talking about tanks again.
I have to tell you, that awareness from Sato was some of the worst I've seen at a professional level. I I
That
there was a thread of like, Sato, hello, what are you doing? Because they rotate down. I mean, once they go down, right? The Gladiators went to the alley. They went far side and they came back up. Here, you saw, if you're Feely, you saw them. They didn't go that far, right? They didn't go the long way. They went the short way. So if they cut into the building right there, where are they going to go? Sure, they could go left. That is a chance. But they could also go right and right up the stairs, right behind Sato. He had Neptuno who was healing him. I'm almost certain Neptuno called it out because he bailed it out of there. Everyone else bailed it out of there. And you know what? We have Sato with his shield up. I'm like, dude, what are you? You're Orisa. You don't move quickly. What is he doing left? And so then he tries to drop down. He's over half dead. The fortify, slight damage resistance, blah, blah, blah. Sato dead. They collapse.
yeah, I mean, it was a good one. I'm not trying to defend Sato here. I think
It was
Sato.
no.
All I'm going to say is I think that mistake was like realizing like just the emotional place that they would have been. That desperation. They had a chance here. They didn't manage to hold, and feeling like things were slipping away already by this point, and not being aware in the moment clearly, right, and that led to some very bad decision making here. That you can't put the entire loss
No.
of everything on him, but in this one fight, I think that was the
I mean,
the
him
the one
him
thing.
him dying there was a problem, but the team as a whole didn't react. Although perhaps you could say the team couldn't react because their shield was like, he was still on the high ground with the
Yeah,
shield, and everybody else had vacated the premises. But I okay, I stop. I take a look at the numbers then here. Poco +2, Carpe +3. Finally, +3, not the greatest, but it's decent. Sato -4, EQO 0, Neptuno -9, Boombox -3, and then you come over here, Fury +6, Prophet +5, and it's more of the same. They give MVP to Prophet. He tweets out later, Lepalos, I am the best DPS player in the world. Do you agree with that?
Uh, it's hard to talk about DPSs and talk about who is best or not best. He definitely played better on these couple of days, and I think in the playoffs better than some of his opponents overall.
No, you're right. I mean,
But like you look
on
at the season, and he went quiet sometimes, right? So I'm like,
I mean,
who who was the best like continual DPS that didn't have a letdown like that for?
see, here's the thing. Before this championship series, you very well could have said Carpe.
I would have
You
said
could
Carpe,
have
yeah,
said Carpe, and then you get to this championship, and you're like, I can't really give you best DPS Carpe when you disappeared here
yeah, and
in the
winners
biggest
win.
moment. Um,
I might also give
it's
it to Gesture though because he did a lot of work too, or Fury. Because
I wish
let's
I
be
had.
honest, without their work, Profit wouldn't be there in order to claim the ego status there. Uh, and Profit's ego here on being the best DPS is only tempered a little bit by Bidosin's post game comments
Oh, beautiful,
about next
beautiful.
year, and taking off the
Lepelos,
ego
he
side of
said,
Profit.
"GG, too easy. Please try harder next year." That's essentially
Listen,
what he said.
I believe that is one translation you could make, and I think you'd be pretty accurate with that one. It looked pretty easy for them in the grand finals, and this is one of the things we had talked about, which is the potential for. I mean, we have seen this very often, which is one-sided affairs when it comes to Overwatch series, right? No, obviously we have seen great potential, but do you need the grand finals to be a very exciting close affair for it to be a good grand finals, and do you think these were a good grand finals considering
Day
that it was
one,
not
day
like that?
one was better than day two. Um, Also, and this is my own personal feelings. Uber is just a better caster than Doa. I have always found Doa to be boring. I don't like the humor that him and Monty put out. Uber's casting on day, like if you go back and you listen to him cast Volskaya, you get hyped, man. Like you just, how do you not get hyped? And then you listen to Doa and you're like, is this that Toyota commercial that him and Monty were doing that was also very bland and boring? He doesn't get me worked up. So I think that was part of the problem for day two. But this
The
finals
match
was so,
itself too was a
it
bit.
was not a good match, right? Like
Um,
there were no close moments here. And now I just want to ask you, we've seen the playoffs here. Would you I almost feel as if London is the only team who gets this meta and is ready to play it. I look at if you take like the Gladiators, they beat the Gladiators. Then they
I mean,
go
okay,
in
no,
and they
well,
beat.
one sec. We have to talk about Gladiators because you look at the Gladiators and what they did, and do you look at them like there's a couple of things that they did that you have to say are questionable. Fisher, number one, number
Yeah,
two.
Silk Thread.
Okay, number two, Silk Thread, and then number three, they tried some cutesy strategies,
Yeah,
a little bit too much, and didn't go back to what might be more core. Because I honestly do think Gladiators could have beat. Uh, you just look at that first day and how much they wrecked Spitfire
yeah.
on that first day, and you can't look at that series and not say there was potential here for Gladiators to win that one straight up.
If I mean it, I would have been willing to give Coach Deepay so much credit, Lepelos, if the first day with iRemix had just been a mind game. Like they
Yeah,
put out all this press like that. Because I take it back to what we said about Korean teams wanting to be prepared and having film and footage and everything. And London has even said afterwards that they were completely thrown by iRemix. And then they had 2 days where the coaching staff sat down, was like, okay, Fisher's out. This is now an easy series. We're gonna win. And it's not just that, but it's the little things that have come up throughout the playoffs, like reinforce at the beginning, picking London over LA because of how punishing this meta was for tanks and how he feared Fisher's aggressive play style would hurt them.
yeah.
And then I'm looking now at how they have won this, and everyone. yes, Prophet had a phenomenal playoffs, a phenomenal championship. The tank line of Gesture and Fury won them this title, Lepelos. Yeah, I'm sorry. They won. Like they won't ever get the MVP trophy, but they did because they shut down the enemy team's DPS. Surefour, Soon, and now Carpe Lepelos. Three of the best widows we had in the second half of the season in stage four. None of them could get settled because Gesture was breathing down their necks. In this quote unquote meta where tanks are supposed to be punished, Gesture wasn't. Where Tank's supposed to be punished, Fury, Lepelos, look at his numbers.
Yeah.
Look at
I-
Fury's
It's
numbers
it's
here.
honestly hard for me to tell because I agree with you. I honestly think that either Gesture or Fury should have had MVP for the playoffs because none of what Birdring or Prophet did was without the support here out of their tank line. And obviously Bedosin and Nuss were on
Yeah.
on point for the most part. Like you look Bedosin here versus Boombox, really good numbers
The
throughout.
ability to
But
flex off, right? Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
that too coming out from Bedosin. Like Bedosin performed very, very well as well. But I still think it was a tank line that was exceptional through the playoffs, even above the DPS duo of Birdring and Prophet.
I mean, I almost I almost feel I honestly after watching this, all the playoffs, I still think that the Gladiators had the best chance to beat London, but it would have required Fisher. And I think
Yeah,
we won't ever get the full story here. And I'm looking how this played out, and I'm saying Fisher's aggression might have been just what they needed to get past London because no one was getting onto Birdering. No one was getting onto Prophet. And come to find out, Birdering suffering heavily from his wrist injury, Lepelos, right? We thought
yeah,
it was all clear. We thought it was all good. Come to find out, it's not all good. He still
yeah.
got the was Susie Kim, general manager, did a Q&A and he talked briefly about it, right? He still has this wrist injury. It's just
Some
no
people
one put
will
the
never get over it, right? Like this could be troubling. I think you mentioned like his future
yeah.
career is in jeopardy because of this. It's absolutely right.
I mean his career now, but just long 10 years from now, I forget who I don't follow StarCraft. I forget who it was, but I don't know names. I just remember reading where they were saying that this one StarCraft player in his prime was so good, and while he's still there mentally, he still knows how to play. He physically cannot move fast enough and react fast enough because his wrists are damaged.
Yeah.
Like he still has it, right? He still knows what to do, but and people, you think, what are you talking about? He's just moving a mouse. He's just typing on a keyboard. No, like at that level,
Precision.
you know.
It's precision movements at high speed and repetitive. It's damaging to ligaments and joints, and that's basically is what happening. And it's gonna hit. It's clearly hitting Birdring, a champion here already. Like he was
Yeah,
out part of the season because of that.
yeah.
Gonna probably hit again harder someone in the future in the Overwatch League or former pro of Overwatch League.
I mean, it's
Jax,
just yeah.
oh go ahead.
No, I was just it's just when I stop and I look at the two halves of the brackets. Philly had the easier half because
Yeah,
Boston and New York, neither one of them was prepared to play. I don't remember who it was. I think it was London. London was scrimming. I want to say London. I believe it was London. Who it was either London or Valiant. They said that their scrim partners were um Philly and New York. And when they were scrimming, like they were beating New York better, harder. And they were saying, are they hiding strats or do they just not get it? And then, obviously as we see from their performance in the semifinals, London just was not ready to play on this patch. And
or sorry, New York was not ready to play
so yeah,
on this
sorry, you're
patch.
correct. Yeah, New York was not
Yeah,
ready to play on this patch.
absolutely
And
not.
even now, I think that these two teams are the best teams in this meta on this patch. I still think it's unfortunate that this patch sprung up after, New York, who has been
Oh my God,
consistently,
your
good. I
favorite point of mine to talk about, Jax. You're hitting it.
yeah,
I love it. Both of these ones are great because it is such crap that we have the grand finals decided by a completely different patch than anything played during the regular season, and we don't even touch any of the other patches that were played during the regular season in order to determine what these teams were going to be. So I don't know how you
it's
handle
rough,
this.
man.
It
I mean,
just
but what do you do? Like going into season two, do they do anything different? I don't.
No,
It's the
I mean,
nature of the patch system,
yeah,
right? And the time in between,
I just
we'll
don't like
probably end
it.
up with the
But
same thing.
yeah, we're gonna end up with the same thing. What I would like to see is that they ensure that what is on live is being played, at least for the stage,
I told
and
you,
not
Shadowburn was
a
asking
2-day
for a
patch.
boost on Hanzo. Hanzo was not. You can't boost him. Now Mercy still should have done it for the ultimate charge because that bug is in where Mercy gets ult charge from boosting Hanzo's dragon, even if it's not giving damage. But congrats, London Spitfire Lepalose. They say they had the best sandbag throughout the entire season. They started strong and then they went quiet, lulled everybody into a false sense of
Yeah,
security, and then struck in the playoffs. Everybody knows that's BS. Jack owner, he can come out with all these interviews, all these talks. Again, they have no control over what the game, what patch they're playing on. This is,
no,
all they can do is play the game. Congrats to you for playing the game, but they still have those same problems, Lepelos. Let's say if come next season where this patch isn't live, they have issues there. We'll see.
absolutely. Well, see if their front office can handle that. I mean, got to see Jack raise a trophy there and sit in the middle of his team, front and prominent, as owners love to do. I guess that's
I
his
did
right. But
I did want to give EQO a prop for something. I have the all access pass. I watched the press conference. I want to give him props for stepping up in the press conference, Lepelos. On day 2, after they had just lost, they had to give the press conference first. Now, it's a convenient, I won't say excuse, because all the questions were asked in English, but they had the translator there. And even when translated, the Korean half for the Philadelphia Fusion did not answer questions. Like they were silent. Carpe, I mean, Levels, he was on the verge of tears right there.
yeah,
EQO stepped up, clear voice, and was answering questions and was engaged. Right, he could have shut down. And when they asked him about his future, he says Philly was the only team who gave me a chance, and he wants to stay here and he wants to build and get better. And I give him, like, this is what I expect out of a team captain, right? Where
yeah.
your
So,
team is
do you
down and
think
beat
he's
up,
a
and
team
he
leader
stepped up.
then?
He stepped up so huge here.
So you think he's a team leader? Like, in which case, when you start talking about desperation, do you pull a player like that out to put Shadowburn in the first place, and then we're on
Now
to, do
you
you
ask
pull
the tough
Carpe out?
questions,
I
Lepelos.
mean, you brought this up. I just wanted to
Yeah,
talk to you this one. We'll give this a minute, then we'll move on into the rundown portion. But
Carpe was playing so poorly. I almost feel like you gotta pull Carpe. I can't believe I said that. You gotta
but
pull
Carpe was
Carpe.
playing better on the second day than the first.
Lepelos, the real
I
problem.
don't know.
Chef Coach Heidi didn't have access to a
And
kitchen. If I go by the Twitter page, you know me, I go by the Twitter here. Chef Heidi.
yeah,
Let's go by the Twitter. What do I see? I see, she's out. She's busy. I mean, props to her. She gets to travel with the team. She's a member of the team and the staff. That's fine. They need the food, Lepelos.
they do need
They
the food.
hungry.
Yes, they're going to be hungry next year, though, Jax, for another chance to try and make it all the way to the grand finals. They're going to probably have some more competition, though. We haven't really talked about that. More teams coming next year, assuredly. Some potential ones already being put out there, I believe. Will be,
I think Atlanta is confirmed.
yeah.
Heavily rumored was Paris and the Chinese city that I don't remember. Leplos, that's you.
Well, they're Beijing, is it,
No,
or
was not Beijing. It
okay?
was
I'd have to
Guang. Oh, I see. I don't. I'm so
Guangzhou
bad,
or
man.
something like that. I don't
You
think I
know
can
I'm
pronounce
bad
it.
with foreign languages, Leplos. You know I'm bad with that, man.
Yeah,
And
listen.
we don't
You
even have
guys know I'm even worse than Jax,
we
but
don't
he
even have
forces
our
me to say
translator
it.
and clock guy. He's not even in chat here. So yes, okay. But what we're saying is it's looking like 3 of the 6, because I think it's being hinted at 6 new teams. Paris, a team in China, I don't know where, it's not
Guangzhou.
Beijing, and Atlanta here in the southern United States. So, Lepelos, that means that's 3 slots left, right? Yeah. How do you pronounce that, Lepelos?
I've said it. I've tried to say it a couple times. Don't make me do it again. We're good.
Guangzhou. Guang.
I think it's
Chelsea Locker's not
Guangzhou,
here.
but
He's
I'm
fired.
probably wrong on that one.
Yeah.
Don't, guys,
So,
listen. I have not learned. I've not learned any Mandarin, so please excuse me on my horrible.
well then let me ask you: Does Canada get a team?
Canada
3
get a
slots left.
team. If Australia doesn't get a team, Canada will be the Commonwealth country to get a team. The next one. There.
Okay, I mean, so with 3 slots left, China's got their second one. you almost feel as if Korea is going to get a second one. Like I don't
Yep.
see it with as much with the popularity. I don't see how Korea doesn't get a second one, unless the funding just isn't there, which
I
would
still need
also
to see one
surprise me.
in South America. I don't care, Jax, about anything else. I want to see a South America.
Where's the
Sorry,
money gonna come
South,
from?
if not South America, sorry, Southern Hemisphere. Well, not even South America. Southern Hemisphere team, Jax. We're talking half of the world that is below the belt.
I'm expecting one team to come out of the quote Pacific region. I think that's what Jacob Wolf from ESPN was hinting.
Yeah, that would be
We need
interesting.
Slasher League Boy to feed us some information. But I have doubts for Canada, Leplos. I really
Me
do.
too. That's okay.
I
You know, I'd be more happy though if it wasn't in Atlanta and it was in Pacific Northwest, like Portland or Seattle.
I mean the
That would be
Midwest.
nice.
Like how
But
Chicago does. I mean you have no Midwest.
you
You have
have
no
two
Midwest
Texas
team.
teams. You have three Californian teams. You have the
Why
usual
do we have?
usual people in the Northeast. Come
Yeah.
on, like really.
I mean, for me, if you go to Atlanta in the South, because you have Florida, you have Atlanta. Okay, that's the South covered. I think it's Chicago. I think it's Chicago. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, the team, the owner or the group that owns the Milwaukee Bucks, the NBA team,
Yeah.
were trying to get in late season. They just didn't have it. It just didn't work out. But I just realized we're going way over time on this topic, Lepelos. We are nowhere near done because you now have to run down all of these
Oh
contenders games.
my goodness, Jax! I am looking forward to a break from having to run down all the contenders games because we always have a lot going on. In North America contenders scene, Jax, we have Group A, Fusion University sitting at a 4-0 scoreline at the top. They have confirmed that they are making it through, and actually, it looks like they're going to make it through in first as
What a
well.
record!
Because behind them, we have Gladiators Legion with a 2-2 scoreline. They did also confirm their playoff spot because they have a +3 scoreline. All the teams behind them, or the next three teams sitting at 2-2, are last night's leftovers, Mayhem Academy and GG Esports Academy, also 2-2 with a -1 map scoreline.
I mean,
So
looking
they're
at it right now,
they're
GG
close.
Esports, their last game to play is against Fusion University. And unless Fusion throws like we saw out of Korea last night, GG Esports won't be making it. But who
Yeah,
knows?
and unless as well, you could have a situation. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. So unlikely that GG Esports Academy is going to make it through. Second win, 0-4, already out of the
Oh, wait a
tournament.
minute. Last night leftovers and Mayhem Academy. So GG Esports could make it in depending on map
Yeah, on map.
tiebreaker because last night leftovers and mayhem like they all share a 2-2 with a -1, so it'll come down to maps. And if I'm
Last night's
wow, still
leftovers
close.
has the 8-0 and 9 map
Yeah,
score line, whereas 7-1 and 8 are both Mayhem and GG Esports Academy. There are mathematical ways for GG
yeah,
Esports Academy to go through. Fusion University, I don't think will let them. Group B,
correct.
let's move on to that one. XL2 Academy sitting at 4-0 right now. Behind them, Team MV 3-1, Energy Esports, Toronto Esports 2-2, all confirmed to go through. Bye week is out with 1-3. Skyfox is sitting at 0-4. Them. Uh, Games this week to watch for NA, I think, as you said, would be Fusion. The overall standpoint is
I think
determined by Fusion by
that'll be
GG,
a
but more
stomp.
important,
So
yeah, the more interesting one would probably
yeah,
be Mayhem Academy versus last night's leftovers, July 31st. That's in just under 2 days
yeah.
from now. So that one probably be my one to watch for this week in North America. Let's go ahead and discuss European contenders here. That up right now. In Group A, we have another confirmed team making it through. That's Angry Titans. They've been doing well all season long, sitting at
Yep.
4-0. Orglis and Hungary also confirming to go through. Uh, Angry Titans actually secured first spot. Orglis and Hungary sitting at 3-1. Young and Beautiful and Six Snakes or Snakes sitting at 2-2. And British Hurricane Jax, they are sitting lonely at 1-3. Bazooka Puppies
They
0-4 have
okay.
released their members.
What a collapse by British Hurricane. They played. I mean, I actually watched their game against Angry Titans, and you're saying, well, Angry Titans is first, they were positive 11 map line, and British Hurricane played them very well. This was on the July 24th, a couple days ago.
Yeah.
The first map British Hurricane took, second map was a tie on Kings Row, and from there, just absolute collapse, where they lost the next two maps. But the casters and people who, I haven't had time to follow this region, but the casters and analysts were saying if this British Hurricane team, if the performance that they put out, if they had played like that throughout the entire season, they would for sure be set for playoffs. Right now, they're going to need some help. Bazooka Puppies, I believe Bazooka Puppies also let go their entire roster once it was mathematically, unable, once they were mathematically unable to qualify. So Bazooka Puppies, everyone is let go. Don't know if the organization is folding or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. British Hurricane, they Six Snakes and Young and the Beautiful play. Is that tomorrow? Yes, they play tomorrow. And British Hurricanes needs help, right? If Six Snakes wins, then British Hurricanes, you know, they literally can't catch up. If Six Snakes loses, then British Hurricanes, they almost need like a 4-0 here
I
in their
think
final game, dude.
so. Here's the situation. I think they need Young and Beautiful, like, or say they need Six Snakes to lose by like a 3-1 at
Yeah.
least, and British Hurricanes needed a 4-0 in that kind of a situation.
They're gonna furrow Orgus and Hungary, who's second. I don't think so.
Yeah, so
Maybe.
they're going to struggle. I mean, who knows? We'll see what
Lepalose, they
comes
were
from that one.
season one winners, and now they're potentially out.
Yeah, let's talk Group B though, Jax. Team
Sure.
Gigante sitting at 4-0. CS Hope 3-1. Eagle Gaming 2-2. All those teams going through. 1 point is sitting at 2-2. We have Org is at 1-3, and not making it through is Copenhagen Flames with an 0-4. Taking a look here, we have Eagle Gaming taking on 1 point, and Copenhagen Flames taking on We Have Org. So this is going to come down likely
Yeah.
again to another map scoreline.
They're down by 5, man. I don't see how We Have Org is gonna cut.
Well, if 1 point loses by so if We Have Org wins all 4 maps, right?
Yeah.
And they move up to a +4, and 1 point drops, like loses like 3-1, which I think is reasonable to Eagle Gaming. So for me, the map or match to watch this week for European is the Eagle Gaming versus 1 point, because that will be telling, or the Young and Beautiful versus Snakes.
Let me ask you something. Eagle Gaming is an all French team. Highly rumored that Paris will be getting an Overwatch League team for season 2. Eagle Gaming, however, is a middling European team. Do you take the all French roster, Lepalose? You've got it, right? You got an all French roster, you got a French team. Do you take that, or do you go out and find a team of Koreans to represent Paris?
I'd have to look at labor laws in France.
Well done, Lepalose. Well done. But again, season 2, as you know, will all be played in Los Angeles. No game will be played in Paris.
So then the answer
is
no.
Matter?
The answer is the both the serious and the joke answer then is no. You don't bring on middling team in Contenders to be your primary team just because they're from your nation. This is not World Cup play. This is a professional business, and you hire the best people to play for your team.
It's not. Previously we would say, well, it cost them 20 million. We're hearing 30 to 60 million for these season 2 slots.
You got to pay for DJ Khaled. That's a sunken cost now that you have to pay into. All right, let's go talk about Korea though, Jax. Group A, we already have our the regular season play is done in Korea, so here we are. We can talk about where the standings are, and I know you want to get into a little bit of something that happened. I know you're looking forward to it, guys. You guys are going to enjoy this one too. Group A, though.
I'll be.
Yeah. All right. I know. You're excited. Let me get through them. We're going to do them really quickly. Group A: Team Konkdu, Panthera, perfect score 5-0. Runaway 4-1. Metabellum 3-2. X6 Gaming 2-3. Those 4 teams make it through. Road Gamestar H2 not making it through, or Blossom 0-5. Group B: Element Mystic, sitting at a 4-1 in Jax. We'll come back to that shortly. O2 Ardent 4-1. MVP Space 2-3. GC Busan Wave 2-3. 7 do not make it through with a 2-3, and Foxes also do not make it through with a 1-4. MVP Space was looking pretty bad there, Jax. What happened?
Coming into the final week, they needed all kinds of help. They start out, they beat Foxes 3-0,
which was expected.
That keeps them alive. And what also, but then you say that's expected, and then 2 days later, Foxes beat 7 3-1. And so now 7 is not 7. Their fate is no longer in their hands at that point. However, when you stop and you take a look at it, you're saying, okay, MVP Space has to beat Element Mystic in the final game of the regular season to knock 7 out. Element Mystic, the best team right now, they had the best record in Contenders. Last night, I'm sitting there watching, I watched Runaway versus Metabellum. Runaway looking very strong. I do want to point out Bumper. Everybody remembers Bumper from Runaway. Talk about the wrist injury, Lepalose. He had to be pulled from the game and sent to the hospital because his wrist pain was that bad. That
Yeah.
bad. He had to stop playing and go to the hospital for treatment. So that is a concern for Runaway going into the playoffs because Bumper is a pretty big part of that team. And I hope things get better for him. But it just goes to people talk. Sorry, this tangent that just popped up. I was all those posts that Twitter posts that I saw from American fans who were upset that this not sport was on ESPN. This isn't a sport. This isn't a sport. Blah blah blah. Tell that to these guys, levels. They have injuries, right?
Yeah.
They're injured from playing this not sport. So give them a little, give them a little props here. That being said, Element Mystic versus MVP Space last night. I Lepos, they have to be okay.
I mean, it's Korea. There are
4-0.
there.
Element Mystic lost 4-0 to MVP Space, a team who was on the bubble trying to crawl back, crawl back and make it into the playoffs. And Element Mystic lose 4-0. And on some of these Lepos, look at run down the maps here. Oasis 2-1, Eichenwald 2-1, Horizon Lunar Colony 1-0, Route 66 3-2. This series I watched, it wasn't even close to the point where everyone in chat is asking about collusion, Lepolos. That's
Wow.
how bad it was. If you were to go back and watch the casters themselves, or even Achilles and Wolf, who are the English language casters, they're stunned. They're like, we don't know what is happening here because no one expected this. No one. And not only now has MVP Space made the playoffs, they have now went from fourth to third, Lepolos, to third. And now GC Busan Wave is in fourth place and has to play Kongdu Panther in the playoffs. I I don't want to think that a team would do something like this. Like I don't see how anything could be worth Element Mystic throwing like this. And so if I take that off the table, then you're looking at from Element Mystic perspective here. Going into the playoffs, you have the chance to remove a team that, while probably isn't a big challenge for you, is harder than you know the next team. So if you're Element Mystic and you're saying, "Hey, we can get rid of 7 right now. All we have to do is lose."
I mean, here's
Do
the
you do
interesting
that,
thing.
Lepolos? Do
I,
you do that?
I mean, I personally no. I don't believe in playing the game that
Or is
way.
that tinfoil all over my head right now?
It this is very questionable. I mean,
Lepolos,
for
it
it to
wasn't
come
close.
out to this level.
I
I
actually joked in Twitch chat because at one point the Widow player for Element Mystic Z popped off like incredibly. And I joked in Twitch chat and I wrote Z having to make it look like they're actually trying for the investigation. Because outside of that moment, you would say that if you didn't know
yeah.
anything, if you were just watching for the first time, you're saying, "Wow, Element Mystic, you're gonna go back to Contenders trials because you're really bad." And here you wait a minute, what? You're the best team in your group, one of the best in the country? No, not no, no, no.
Definitely, it's definitely concerning to watch a team that is at the top of the group go down an 0-4 score line here to a team that was at the time second last place in the
I mean,
group.
if you're a 7
It can
fan, you're
happen.
upset. But if you're a 7 fan, you also have to blame your team who lost to the worst team in the group, Foxes, right? I'm serious. You beat Foxes the day before, it doesn't matter what MVP Space does. They lost 3-1.
I mean, and if
And
you want to talk bad too, look at what Seven did. They were 2-0'd on Ilios and then 1-0'd on Kings Row, Jax. They were 1-0'd on Kings Row.
no one to blame but yourself, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, that's true. Very concerning stuff, though, in terms of middling play. If you're going to take off, what do you say, collusion? We'll have to check the tapes on that one. But
So
taking that off the table, you have to be concerned about middling play. And if you look at Element Mystic season, 2-1 win over 7, 4-0 over O2 Ardian, 4-0 over Foxes, but then a 3-2 over GC Busan Wave. and you're wondering if they are having an up and down season. So I don't know.
I mean, it's interesting. The brackets are set for Korea. I mean, I love it that we're getting into this 2 days. Like 2 days from now, they'll be in playoffs, and then the North American side is still doing regular season. So I will
Well, pretty much every other
probably
region
I'll
still
probably
has.
be watching this. Okay, maybe I'm looking at the quarterfinals are at 3 o'clock in the morning. That won't happen. However, Leplos, the semifinals are at like 10:30, and the finals are at like 11 o'clock. So those work for us.
Yeah, they do.
Quarterfinals at 3 a.m. Not so much. But
Not so much. Let's go ahead and move into the Chinese scene. We do have some results already done for Group A. So we know Lucky Future Zenith, perfect 5-0, only dropping a single map. Wow. Plus 18. Ligan Esports
how about that
sitting at
team
a
of
4 and
Chinese
1.
players there, Leplos? Lucky Future Zenith, man, right?
Every single week,
Right?
man. I love it.
Okay.
T1W Esports sitting at 3 and 2. Flag Gaming with a 1 and 3. Man, that's an anemic 1 and 3 making it through.
That's terrible.
That
That
is
is so
unfortunate.
bad.
Triple Six Legend and Future Group not making it through. That maybe they could have used a better crew on that team. But Group B, we're moving to LGD Gaming, sitting at the top with 3 and 1 right now. That can still change. Moss 7 clubs 2 and 2. Team CC 2 and 2. Hero Tacturn Panther 2 and 2. Lucky Future 2 and 3.
Okay, here's the deal, Lep.
Still chances.
The seeding for Group B everyone is within +1 of each other. Like,
But there's only 2 teams here competing for the final spot, and that's Team CC and Lucky Future. I'm taking a look at the schedule. Team CC plays LGD.
okay, Lucky Future is done. They won their game, so
They won their game.
Okay, they're
LGD
on the outside looking in
determines
right now.
LGD Gaming determines Team CC's future right now. If what needs to happen here? Okay, so Team CC has to not drop or they have to
4-0?
get a single map. If they get
One
a
map,
single
yeah.
map, they'll be fine. That's
And,
all
I mean,
Team
here's
CC has to do against
LGD.
LGD.
LGD is top of the group, but if you look at it, they have struggled for the like they have no clean sheets. Is basically what I'm saying. LGD has dropped at least one map in every game this series.
You're right, and actually, I'll point it out in this way: they have a better score line. Their map score is only 1 more than Team CC.
Yeah.
So
So
likelihood Team CC is going through here.
And I mean, if you actually do want to top Group B, it almost guarantees you'll win in the quarterfinals, where you would be facing Flat Gaming, who is 1 and 3 with a -4 map line. So if you're LGD, you want a solid. Who does Moss 7 play? They play Hero Taciturn. Ooh, okay, China looking interesting. Sadly, they air these games at a very bad time for me, Leplos.
Yeah, but listen, I'm glad. I believe. Well, I saw some earlier that did not have the English stream, but I believe they have the broadcast.gg. If
Yeah,
I'm not mistaken.
I'm assuming for
People
the
doing
like
it, so that's good.
broadcast.gg, they don't cover all of the game.
Oh
Like they
yeah.
have the right to. They just, sometimes it just doesn't work for their casters. I'm assuming for the playoffs,
Do they take volunteer casters? Should we get the Jax cast up there? But
no. Live
are we
casting, no sir.
are we good to move on into the Pacific region? Group A again. We have 3 confirmed teams going through with 3 and 1 score lines. Jax, Monster Shield, KR, Talent Esports, and Machi Esports sitting at 3 and 1 right now, dominating Group A. But that just leaves EXL Esports, New Paradigm, and Mega Esports in the dust. Mega Esports not looking good again.
And EXL plays Mega for the last game, they probably take the last spot.
Yeah, and forcing New Paradigm out as well. So let's move to Group B, where we have some more dominance by Cyclops Athlete Gaming, sitting at 4 and 0 right now. Hong Kong Attitude also securing a spot 3 and 1. 2 and 2 are Xavier Esports, Blank Esports with a -1 score map line right now.
What a win for Blank this last week, Lepelos. They faced Nova, who is now on the outside looking in at that last playoff spot. 3-2 in favor of Blank. It was 2-0 Blank Li Zhang, 3-1 Nova Kings Row, 3-2 Nova Temple of Anubis, 2-0 Blank on Route 66, 2-0 on Ilios to pull it out. Best of 5.
Yeah,
what has happened to Blank, dude?
Well, let's talk about the future of next week, because next week Blank takes on Hong Kong Attitude, number 2 team in their group, but Nova, the team that wants to upset their positioning, is taking on Cyber Athletes
Oh
Gaming.
no.
So you sort of see how
Oh
this is
no.
likely to play
Yeah.
out. We're probably not seeing any more movement in Group B, and we're seeing Cyclops,
Feels
Hong Kong
bad for
Attitude, Xavier,
Nova,
and Blank
man.
going
They
through.
needed that win over Blank.
They
Wow.
did. So that was the big game probably for the season,
Yeah.
was in the second last week. Let's move to South America, where we have two teams sitting in Group A right
Skipped
now.
Australia, by the way.
Did I? I did.
We'll go back.
We'll go back. Listen, we're in Southern Hemisphere entirely now, so we can. It doesn't matter which side of it, but let's do Brazil since I'm on that one. Brazil Gaming House 4-0, looking for Org 4-0 right now. What a dominant performance out of these teams in Group A comparative to their also confirmed to go through Revolt's Esports Club 2-2, and they get to go through, Jax. That means you have a 1-3 for Breakdown Gaming and looking for tanks, and Caverna Esports sitting at 0-4. Technically, they can still go through it, says Jax, somehow with an 0-4 scoreline.
Wait, Breakdown is playing looking. Oh, wait, is Breakdown versus looking for tanks? Yeah. How can they go through here? How?
A tie game, maybe.
No, dude, they're 5 behind. Well, okay, no, because they win. They if they win, they have the better. So basically, winner goes through.
Winner goes through here.
Yeah.
Caverna can't go through. Someone didn't do their math when they're changing the colors. Yeah. Listen, it's Wikipedia. These people do great work, and we just leech off of it. We leech off it, and I love them for the work that they do. Isser's Gaming in Group B sitting at top 3-1. They're still challenged by Black Dragon Esports in that group 3-1 as well. Who are they playing the upcoming week?
Isser's plays Hephaestus. Black Dragon plays Predators.
So both of these teams facing the 3 and 4 teams, I think respectively there, who are sitting at 2-2 right now. Behind them, 2Kill Gaming, Pain Gaming sitting at 1-3, and Jax, they play each other as well.
Okay, there's no. I mean, here's the deal. Like the region is, they can't. 2Kill can't catch them. Even if they lose 4, if Hephaestus loses 4-0, right? Oh, maybe they can be caught. 2Kill.
2Kill can catch up because they're sitting at a 0
yeah.
on their map scoreline. So if Predators and Hephaestus, one of those teams, don't win, and 2Kill Gaming wins, 2Kill Gaming can
a good margin,
will make it through. So 2Kill has to win this game against Pain. That's probably the one to look out for.
I think they
in terms
have
of standings.
to win, and they need to win like 4-0 almost, man.
No, I think like if 2Kill wins by 1 and Hephaestus or Predators lose a game, their game, 2Kill Gaming will go through.
You're absolutely correct. How is this? How are they so low and their map differential is that much better? Like Hephaestus is a -5 and 2Kill is a 0.
I think, here, I have the answer for you, Jax. I'm looking at it July 8th, 2Kill versus Isser's Gaming. Isser's Gaming was not there that day. They did not play. They got 4 free maps and their only win on the board based off of that alone.
There you go, Lepalose.
And now we're talking about the deepness of
by Lepalose. This is what he's here for, people.
Oh my goodness. Well, so listen, maybe not looking as good for 2Kill as we suspected. Yeah, this is looking like it might be trouble. All right, they did take a map off of Black Dragons though, Jack. So I don't know how this is going to turn.
Maybe they will surprise me, Lepalose. They won't, but maybe they will.
Maybe they won't. Let's go over to Australia then, Jack. You reprimanded me for not covering it, but we are going to make sure we cover it here before we call it a day. Sydney Drop Bears in Group A, sitting at 4-0. Perfect map scoreline. 16 wins on maps right now. Legacy Esports and Order sitting at 3-1 have secured, and then we have 2 teams sitting at 1-3. Tainted Minds, Dignity. They need to. Are they fighting each other? No, Dignity is taking on.
Tainted Minds was playing, or the game is the score hasn't been updated, but I'm almost certain. Yeah, Tainted Minds won 4-0 tonight over Bin Chickens.
Yeah, okay, so they're through. Bin Chickens, by the way, bottom of the group, and if they didn't take a single map off of Tainted Minds today, yeah, they were an 0-20 on the map scoreline. Feels like that.
Did they not win a map, dude?
Not a single map. Not even a draw for them, unfortunately. Let's go over to Group B. We have 2 teams right now sitting at 4-0.
Oh wait, sorry. Sorry. It's quick timeout. Lepalose. Dignity also lost 4-0, so Group A is set. Dignity and Bin Chickens are out. Tainted Minds secures that last spot for the playoffs.
Yeah, and if we're being really on top of it, we'd probably even be able to figure out who is there, because I believe Sydney Drop Pairs also played. It's just not updated right now, and you're not watching while we're doing our podcast. Group B, Darksided sitting at 4-0. Kanga Esports sitting at 4-0. Behind them, GC or Masterminds GC 2-2, Serenity 1-3, Avant Gaming 1-3. These games, I believe, are being played tomorrow. Kanga versus Darksided is going on. Then I think I might try and pay attention to that one and see how that turns out between these 2 top teams in Group B for placement reasons.
I wish this game was earlier in the season where more was on the line. I mean, placement does matter depending on what half of the bracket you're in. But yeah, that is an interesting one. Both teams 4-0, positive 11 for Darksided, positive 9 for Kanga. Pretty close, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And Jax, I believe that's the end of our contenders. Our rundown portion is done for the evening. I do think it is a good time just to remind everyone that we will be taking a bit of a break now that we're done the Overwatch League.
We just had a break, but we're taking another one.
Absolutely. Listen, we're following as many breaks as the Overwatch League gives us. That said, actually, we have been having some serious conversation about whether we do or don't want to continue on. We're sitting at episode 98 today that you guys are listening to. And we thank you guys for coming by and joining us as you have now for basically 2 years. We're coming up to 2 years in August, I believe it is, and it's been a pretty good time doing this. I've enjoyed doing this with you, Jax. We will make it to 100 one way or another.
I've said on here before. That first day I was so close to just saying I'm good, man. Let's not bother. Here we are, 98 episodes later. We'll definitely make it to 100 episodes. When those 100 episodes will take place, I don't know.
Our schedule is not defined.
In the month of August, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we do know we'll probably do the All-Star one, which is the end of August. We'll see if we do an end of Contenders one, and between those 2 dates, we may also either have or combine our GM for a day kind of a role playing that we're going to do on one of those episodes. So do pay attention, guys. We're not going to be updating regularly from this point on, and there's also potential in the future, and you guys will hear about this when we do our podcast, that we might end the podcast at 102. That's seeming like it might be likely. So
I mean, it may be 101. Okay,
might be 101.
Just sitting here looking at the scores. It's the rundown, right? The rundown portion of it gets me going, and my only thing that I wish is that all these Contenders playoffs were happening at the same time, so we could just have a Contenders playoff edition and cover everything. As it stands, I know there's a big land plan for North America and EU, and I think China and Korea will also have their lands. Probably sometime in August, maybe whenever after the playoffs are over, we will have just a Contenders episode. It'll probably only be like an hour long at most. We won't be giving anything full coverage unless there's just a phenomenal, mind-blowing game, which I don't expect to see.
I mean, in season 1, we had some of that. When Element Mystic, if you remember, then also dropped the ball.
Dude, those playoff games out of Korea, that's why I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
and
maybe
the finals right now for Korea are, if you take a look at it, it's shaping up. If you take the link is on the schedule. We're looking at Runaway versus Element Mystic in the semifinals, and that is huge. And then a Runaway.
We're starting with Kongdu Panthera versus GC Busan Wave, right? Like that. The matchups right from the start are pretty good. So
it's at 3:00 in the morning, though.
I know. So the morning game's hard for us to watch live. So the hype might not be there for that. We have a heat wave up where I am though, so maybe that's good for GC Busan Wave early in the morning, as I might have to stay up anyways and watch that as I can't get to sleep. But just wanted to thank you all for tuning in and being solid listeners for us for a while. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you can pass it along. There's our Discord link. You can find that. We put that in the description. It's also on my Twitch page on twitch.tv/Lepalose. You can reach us as well at OW Rundown on Twitter.
Also a link to the Discord there.
Yep. I'm at Lepalose. He's at Jax_Blake on Twitter. Really appreciate any comments you guys have in terms of if you guys want to see us continue this in the future, or comments on what we can do if we move on into other things in the future as well, other games or other type of content, we'd appreciate that. As I said,
I'm not running down Fortnite, man.
we're not. Yeah.
That is not no.
All right. Well, I'm not
PUBG
suggesting
was
that.
actually interesting, but that Fortnite, I Fortnite is just the building, Lepalose, in the building, and then the camping, and the building, and the camping. No.
Maybe there's enough dancing to keep people interested, and that's where DJ Khaled can finally make an appearance.
Oh boy.
You know, on that note, I think we ought to play our own music out as DJ Lepalose takes over. Jax, I think we did it. My recording stopped. I remembered that this time.
Yeah.